Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School and the Black Wealth Boot Camp. I want to share something with you that came from a movie or a TV show I was watching not too long ago. I don't remember what the show was called, but there was an interesting remark that was made by one of the main characters, and it was one of those situations who had a job and she was going to do something. She was going to solve a problem in a certain way. Now her boss told her. Her boss sent orders down saying, "We don't want you to do that. We need you to do something different." And so the liaison between her and her boss came up and said, "Well, I know you want to do it this way, but because he told you what you have to do, you really don't have a choice." And she said something really powerful and profound. She said, "I don't recall any situation in my life where I didn't have a choice." Um, I thought about that a little bit because I thought about the way we live as Black people in America, in corporate America especially. Those of us who have these jobs that where we really think that's the only way on earth to make a living. We really think that that's the only way we can survive economically is by taking this job, even if it's sucking literally the essence of our soul out of our body every single day, making life just one of the most uncomfortable things imaginable. We still feel like it's our only option, so we kind of put up with whatever nonsense somebody drops on our plate. Now I understand. People got bills. Some people build up debt. We build up obligations. We may not have money saved because maybe we haven't saved, right? It's always a choice. But we still forget sometimes that there are options. There is a way out if we want to find a way out. Um, and here's what I've observed. Here's what I've seen. I've seen people who literally seem to feed off of the negative energy that they're getting from going to work every day. They literally feed off of it, almost the way somebody can be an alcoholic can be addicted to drinking poison every day, or you actually have bacteria that live off of radioactive material. That's what they eat every day. I believe that our minds can be trained to feed off negative energy to the point where we really need it. We need the drama. It sustains us. It becomes habit forming. And what I mean by that is you might have a person who every single day, every time you talk to them, the first thing they do is bitch about their coworkers. Well, let me tell you what that lady did to me today. Let me tell you about what that man did today. He's such a jerk. I can't believe he blah 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 blah. And these white people on my job, let me tell you what they do. Here's what they did to me again today. And then I went in there and I had the paper, and the lady, she gonna tell me like you ain't got the paper because I looked at the paper and it wasn't signed by you on time or whatever. You hear this kind of thing, and I'm not making fun of my friends who have real issues at work. And I'm not saying that that's not natural for us to groan and complain. Believe me, I do it. I do it enough myself. I complain about stuff all the time. But here's the thing that's interesting to me. This is something I thought about. What if you took all the energy that you spend complaining about your coworkers, all the time you spent bitching about what somebody ain't doing for you, how somebody's mistreating you, and took that time and put that same amount of energy into learning how to start your own business or learning how to create economic options for yourself. That same amount of just mental energy and time it takes to really formulate the emotional wherewithal to bitch and moan and complain about somebody for 2 hours over what they did or did not do to you. What if you took that time and put it into actually empowering yourself? Even if you didn't think it was going to work, you just said, instead of every time I get tempted to get mad about the problem, I'm going to spend that time fixing the problem and addressing the problem. What if you did that? Well, I'm gonna tell you what. I have a lot of friends where I believe that if they did that, they would literally become experts in entrepreneurship. They would literally find ways to make far more money than they ever thought they'd ever make in their life. But more importantly than the money, they would probably just be happier. They would have a higher sense of well-being. I'll never forget my friend. He's not really a friend, but he was a guy I met. I'll never forget how he told me that the racism on his job was so bad that doctors said it had zapped the testosterone out of his body to the point where literally he had the internal makings of a woman. He literally he was depressed all the time. He couldn't perform in the bedroom. He became overweight. And I said, "Oh my God." I mean, emasculation is one thing. We know how black men are forced to kind of bow and scrape in some of these environments. It's horrible. It's crazy. But this man literally had his manhood sucked out of his body to the point where it caused a series of problems that went far beyond the workplace. I mean, it's one thing if you ain't getting ahead at work. It's another thing you come home and your woman don't even want you. She's looking at you thinking you're just another woman. I'm in a lesbian relationship right now because my man has been emasculated so much. And I remember that his solution was number one. He said when he got fired from his job, that was actually one of the best days of his life. He said, I don't have as much money, but I've never been happier. That was one thing I remember. Second thing I remember was the big old box of pills he was showing me he had to take just to maintain his mental health, just to remain psychologically balanced because these white folks on his job had driven him so crazy that he literally had got to the point where he had to take medication. He had to take medication in order to remain normal. And I'm going to tell you this too. He wasn't normal. When I talked to him, I noticed the way he was speaking. He was speaking really fast. The voice inflections didn't make sense. He wouldn't stop talking. There was something just not quite there mentally. And so that made me really reflect on one fundamental truth that I truly believe. Racism will drive you crazy. It will literally make you the most annoying, most repetitive, most negative person ever known to man. Your friends will hear you talk and it'll be like, oh Lord, here he comes again, complaining about his coworkers. Or here she comes again. She's gonna tell that same story about that secretary down the hall. Because she becomes addicted to the secretary the way Batman needs the Joker. Like talking about that person that you work with who pisses you off every day literally becomes such a habit that you spend a large percentage of your life talking about people who don't even like you, who shouldn't even matter to you. The time you should be spending talking about your future, your hopes and dreams, your successes, talking about your children, all these other things, your personal growth. You're spending that time talking about these assholes down the hall who don't even want your black ass in the office in the first place. That's weird. That is a mental illness. Do you understand how crazy that is? Do you understand how weird it is to literally crave the opportunity to complain about people that you work with? That eats away at your soul. And as they say that negative energy and bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. When you sit around and you spend all your life being bitter, mad, and negative about somebody else, they're not feeling that negative energy. That's all going into you. And if you don't think that this energy doesn't affect your health, doesn't cause us to have increased rates of diabetes and heart disease and stroke and cancer and all of that, you're crazy. That stuff will kill you. So I can tell you this, the best thing that ever happened in my life, was when I got to a point, when I pushed myself to get to a point where I didn't have to work with white people every day. I don't hate white people. I don't dislike them. I'm actually cooler with white people now than I was when I worked with them because I don't have to depend on them anymore. It reminds me when I was in high school. I'm gonna tell you the truth. When I was in high school, I used to argue with my mama a lot. Me and my mama used to be cats and dogs. We used to go back and forth. And then when I moved out of the house, we became the best of buddies. Because as soon as we got on each other's nerves, we would go to our separate corners. She'd go to her house, I would go to mine. And what we realize is that we get along much better when we have our own space. Well, maybe with white people, you might get along better if you have your own space. I got along much better with white people when I had my own space and they were no longer telling me what to do. I don't work with white men on a day-to-day basis. Again, not because I can't be around them. I can be cool with them. But we don't see eye to eye. I can't be a man up under your umbrella, sitting up under your armpit, begging you for opportunities, begging you for a raise, begging you to give me my self-esteem and my dignity. I can't feel like a man in that situation. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to feel emasculated at the end of the day to the point where I'm ready to go jump off a bridge. So what I would just tell you is this. Look, I don't know how much you like your job. Maybe you love your career. Maybe you work with the wonderful white people, most wonderful white people on earth. Maybe you don't even have to work with white people. I don't know what your situation is. But I just see a lot of people who are in these situations that are dysfunctional, unhealthy, very toxic. And I would just say that it is not healthy for your mind, body, soul, or spirit, or anything for you to simply find a way to become comfortable in the midst of dysfunction. When you're in the mud, you don't want to just find a way to get cozy in the mud and go to sleep in the mud. You don't do that. Eventually, that stuff will just get into your pores and just make you sick and nasty and everything. And your spirit's the same way. When you're going to work every day and you hate what you're doing, you hate the people around you, it's like putting your spirit in the mud. And you don't want to just survive dysfunction. You get away from dysfunction. So I encourage you to just do this. Simple baby step. Every time you get tempted to complain about the people you work with, take that same energy and put it into forming your escape plan to get away from all that shit. Find a way to build a life where you at least, even if you work with them, you're not dependent upon them. That might mean getting your hustle on, getting a side hustle, finding a way to make an extra $500 a month. We've got little programs in the Black Wealth Boot Camp and other places where people sell things that you can do where you can spend $500 a month to start a side business. Find a way to get to save money. Every time you want to go out and waste money at the club, understand that every time you're throwing money away, you're becoming more dependent on your master to take care of you. You're going to have to go right back to those same people to pay your bills because you blew all the money that you had in your pocket, right? Saving, investing, avoiding additional debt, avoiding high expenses. Those are ways to reduce your economic dependence on other people so you can get back what really matters most, which is your well being, your dignity, your peace of mind. That's all I just want to say. I will say that what surprised me was when I used to work with racist white folks, I used to be so mad. I used to get up every day just bitter, feeling like I was going to battle. And like I really had to fight these people every day in order to win. And then, when I really realized I had won the battle was when I got to the point where I didn't care about the battle anymore. If I care enough to fight you or to feel like you're my enemy, then that means you're still winning the fight. But the time I know when I've won the fight is when I don't even care about the fight anymore. And once I moved away from all that nonsense, I became less angry toward white folks. It doesn't mean I didn't speak out about racism. I do. I get to speak unapologetically because I don't work for them. But it didn't. It did something. It released. I felt like my spirit was released. I felt like I had a chance to be a full human being again. I didn't have to sort of dedicate my whole life to being mad at white people. So just think about that. Just always know you always have a choice. You always have a choice. Never feel in your life like you can't put yourself in a different situation because you can. If someone's convinced you that you can't, it's because you've let them convince you that you can't. Anything is possible if you put your mind to it. So that's all I want to share with you guys. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School and the Black Wealth Boot Camp. Please take care. God bless. And find your peace of mind. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.